just 10 days away from the NFL draft. The Raiders, one of the teams not eyeing a quarterback, unless perhaps in one of the later rounds. Instead, entering 2021 with Derek Carr still under center. Carr about to begin his 8th season in the NFL and with the Raiders since he was drafted by them 36th overall back in 2014. In that time period, the Raiders have only once made it to the postseason, and that was back in 2016 when they lost to the Texans in the wild card round. Before 2016, they hadn't been to the postseason since 2002 when they lost to the Bucs in the Super Bowl. And you can see the past 2 seasons have not been fantastic for the Raiders. However, for Carr, he did throw for a career-high 4,103 yards last season while completing 67% of his passes. Let's head into the Raiders' war room with 2-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden and senior NFL writer Pete Prisco. All right, guys, Raiders free agency recap. It's a little interesting. They need a lot of help on defense. They got Yannick Ngakoue, Solomon Thomas. They can help on the offensive side of the ball. You got John Brown, Kenyon Drake. Pete, how would you grade them?
Well, let's not forget they also lost a couple guys on the offensive line. They let Rodney Hudson go, their starting center, and replaced him with Nick Martin. But I think as a whole, it wasn't overwhelming what they did in free agency. I get the idea of adding Ngakoue and Thomas to try and improve a pass rush that needs it, but I don't think that's going to be the answers that they need. And I think when you look at their cornerback position, it's still a problem. You look at some of their other spots, offensive line, the right tackle is an issue. Remember, they traded away Trent Brown. So they have some holes to fill, and I don't think they filled them in free agency. John Brown can run. We know that. We know the Raiders' history. Way back in the day, Al Davis used to love speed, and Mark Davis and that gang still love it. So I understand why they added him, but they have a lot of holes to fill.
Yeah, I give them a B-. I'm right there with you. I think they really missed opportunities to improve their offense. Offensive line-wise, that was a strength for them. It might be an Achilles heel for their team. At the wide receiver position, you bring in John Brown. He is pretty much the lone veteran of the top 3 pass catchers. Outside of that, you have young guy learning after young guy. You got Henry Ruggs and Hunter Renfrow. So if your top 3 wide receivers are Henry Ruggs, Hunter Renfrow, and John Brown, that might be concerning going throughout the season because they don't have that savvy veteran leadership. And right now, we don't know who the #1 pass catcher will be. But they tried to improve on the defensive line. That's why I'm going B- because they went and got the top premier pass rusher that was available in Yannick Ngakoue. Don't forget they added Quentin Jefferson as well. From the Buffalo Bills. Maybe Solomon Thomas can really provide that first-round production that many thought he would be able to provide in the San Francisco 49ers uniform. And then they added depth at the running back position in signing Kenyon Drake. So they did some pretty good things on the defensive line, trying to improve the depth there, but offensively, I have my concerns, and because of that, I give them a B-.
All right, we're going to talk about their needs when it comes to the draft, but let's talk about Derek Carr first and foremost here. So entering his 8th season there with the Raiders. I mean, B-Mac, if you're the Raiders, are you confident in what you saw from him last season? Do you maybe in those later rounds just kind of keep an eye on the quarterback situation?
No, I'm comfortable from what I saw with Derek Carr last year. Over 4,000 yards, like you mentioned earlier, Amanda, 27 touchdowns, I think around 9 interceptions. And don't forget, they were playing musical chairs at the offensive line positions because so many guys were dealing with injuries or so many guys were dealing with COVID-related issues. So they never had the sound structure on the offensive line. And because of that, I think Derek Carr he went above and beyond what was asked of him because of the offensive line concerns. So me personally, I think he is the quarterback they should go with. And not to mention, if something happens to Derek Carr, another reason why I don't think you need to look in the draft at the quarterback position, you have Marcus Mariota there. You know, he played pretty good football given the opportunity last year. It's very, very small sample size, but he looked pretty good in the Raiders uniform. So I don't think they need to address the quarterback position. Clearly not anywhere in the first 3 or 4 rounds because they're okay at that spot.
I agree, but there is some feeling coming out of the Raiders that, John Gruden is not totally enamored with Derek Carr. You keep hearing it around the league over and over and over again. But I think Carr played well enough to earn the spot to come back and be that guy this year. And you mentioned Marcus Mariota. Hey, he went in and played half a game and had a bunch of people in the media saying, oh my gosh, he should be a starter somewhere, forgetting what he did previously in his career. He's a backup quarterback. He's a good backup. It's a good insurance policy. I don't think they'll draft a quarterback in this draft. They need so much help at other spots that they can't even waste a late-round pick on a quarterback.
BMAC mentioned his 27 touchdowns just outside the top 10. All right, Pete, we'll start with you here. You said they need a whole bunch of stuff. You also mentioned just kind of this exodus they had along the O-line. So what needs do the Raiders have looking ahead to the draft?
Well, they have a bunch. And right tackle specifically is a major need, I think. They signed Nick Martin. I thought center would be a glaring need for him. They signed him. I think they filled that. But right tackle's still a major need. But on defense, remember, this was a terrible, terrible defensive unit. Everybody carved them to shreds last year. They drafted poorly on the defensive side of the ball. So I think defensively they need help at corner. They have some young guys. Yeah, Trayvon Mullen and Damon Arnett, 2 draft picks, but they didn't live up to expectations or close to it last year. I think Jonathan Abram has been a major flop for them. Defensively, Cleveland Ferrell was the 4th overall pick, hasn't played close to that level. So they need help. They spent money at linebacker on Nick Kwiatkowski last year and Corey Littleton. Neither one of them played very well. So they need help at every single level on the defensive side of the ball. If you look at that roster, everybody blamed, Paul Gunther, the defensive coordinator. Let's blame the front office. Let's blame the decision makers, because the talent on that side of the ball is clearly not there.
Well, the biggest need for me with the Raiders is the entire offensive line unit. If I didn't know any better, I think the front office didn't like Derek Carr at all. They traded away 3 starters from that unit from a year ago. Gabe Jackson, Trent Brown, and Rodney Hudson. They traded those guys away. And all 3 guys, when healthy, played real good football for that ball club last year. So being able to find quality replacements on that side of the ball is imperative for them. They went out and got Rodney Hudson's replacement in Martin. But outside of that, still don't know who's going to replace Gabe Jackson. We don't know who will replace Trent Brown. And they have to go out and make significant moves and draft key players that can eventually step in that lineup and protect Derek Carr with their life. So me personally, yes, they have a lot of needs, but the biggest one for me is the offensive line.
All right, so we have an offensive line. We have, according to Pete, pretty much everything on defense. The Raiders, as of right now, have the 17th overall pick. If they stay there, let's talk about some names. According to Ryan Wilson's latest mock draft, he has them landing Micah Parsons, linebacker out of Penn State. This is somebody that Ryan says could be a top 5 talent, but could dip, of course, because of run on quarterbacks, and there's some maturity issues there. Pete, what are some names you like at 17?
Yeah, I think Parsons, if he fell to him, would be one they would strongly consider and should consider. I mean, he's a speed linebacker, a game changer, can run to the football. There are some concerns that could drop him down a little bit in terms of character issues, but I think that he would be a fit for them. I think J.C. Horn, if you go at cornerback, really a talented player. Joe Horn's son. Asante Samuel, another son of an NFL player. I think he'd fit in. Jamin Davis is going to be the best linebacker in the draft, period. And that includes Micah Parsons, and he's a big, rangy linebacker in the Anthony Barr mold who can run and chase and tackle and cover. He's everything you want in an NFL linebacker right now. Jamin Davis would be a great pick for the Raiders. And if you went offensive line, there's a group of guys there as well. But remember, BMAC, Trent Brown played 5 games last year, and he wasn't even that good when he played. Yeah, they need somebody there, but it's not like they're missing the Trent Brown that we knew when he was in New England.
Well, Pete, I have 2 guys. When you look at picking at 17, if Caleb Farley is there, like I said, the offensive line unit, that's a huge need. That's a big need for them. But if Caleb Farley falls because of concerns with his back, you go get him. He is a top 10 like player. I mean, he's a talented guy, extremely rangy. He can run. He locates the football. He competes at an all-star level week in and week out, and he was able to showcase that throughout his time there at Virginia Tech. He might not be as refined as some of the other corners you mentioned, like J.C. Horn or Pat Surtain Jr., but he has a high ceiling. And if he happens to fall right where the Raiders are selecting, you better believe you rush and put his name on that card and send it in. And outside of Caleb Farley, you address the offensive line woes. Tevin Jenkins, he is a mauler. He played the right side, he's played the left side, but he's a natural playing the right tackle, and I think he will fit perfectly in their scheme. You know, John Gruden loves to utilize the ground game, and that's where he is at his best. In run support, being able to get his hat on defenders that's in front of them, he will move them off the line of scrimmage, and he's not a liability in the passing game as well when it comes to pass protecting for the quarterback. So if those two guys are available, now number one, if Caleb is available, don't worry about Jenkins. You address the offensive line woes in the second round. Because if Caleb Farley is there, you go get him. But if he is not there, and if Jenkins is there, you select him because I think he would be a big-time starter, day one starter, potentially for the Raiders.
What was all that noise you're making during Pete's thing? Who are you oohing and ahhing about? I couldn't tell if it was good or bad. Was it Jamin Davis?
Yeah, he said Davis is the best linebacker in the draft. I strongly disagree. I strongly disagree.
You are entitled to your wrong opinion, B-Mac.
No. When it comes to you, Pete, I'm never wrong. Remember that.
It's okay. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, like you said. All right, let's talk about day 2 names that we could see there. B-Mac, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, it depends on what happens in the first round. Like I gave the hypothetical with Caleb Farley potentially being there. If he is there, or if the Raiders decide to go elsewhere with that pick and not address the offensive line concerns, you go get an offensive lineman at some point, especially in the second round. Trey Smith was probably one of the few bright spots for the Volunteers Ball Club last year, an all-SEC selection 2019 and 2020. I love his game. He played tackle, he played guard. I think he would be a natural at the tackle position as well. Elijah Molden, a talented cornerback from Washington. One thing I can say about the Huskies, they've done a real good job in getting their players ready for the next level. I think he's the next coming of a nice, great cornerback from the University of Washington. Andre Cisco, man, he has some real nice tape. If you really want to see who he is as a player, just turn on any tape of Cisco playing in Syracuse. He flows to the football, he attacks the football tremendously, and he knows how to set the tone. And that's an area of concern for the Raiders as well, the safety position. I know they brought back Joseph, but they still need to address the depth concerns there at the safety position, and Cisco will fit nicely there. And the last player, adding to the defensive line, Marvin Wilson from Florida State. Didn't really reach his potential at Florida State, but I think the best is yet to come for him, especially if he's tuned in and focused. I think he would be a big addition for their defensive line unit.
It would be vintage Raiders to draft Caleb Farley in the first round and Trey Smith in the second round since both guys have injury issues. Come on, B-Mac. Injury issues for both players. The Raiders can't afford to blow those picks. Come on, B-Mac. They're taking away your GM duties. They're moving them over to me. And my guys in the second day of the draft, Ronnie Perkins. I think Ronnie Perkins is going to be a big-time star in the NFL rushing the passer. You put on his tape, he plays violently, he's tough. Eric Stokes can fly. I think he's the better of the two corners at Georgia, better than Tyson Campbell. And a lot of people I talk to in the league agree with me. Shaun Wade had a terrible season at Ohio State. He's a better player than that. There's ability there. Rashad Weaver, another edge rusher, and Paulson Adebo, a cornerback from Stanford. I think when you look at all these guys, corner, pass rush, that's how you win in this league on defense.
I feel like, come on, B-Mac is about to be a Pete Prisco slogan there. All right, really quickly, give me one word answer here. The prop, according to William Hill, over, under 8 regular season wins. Pete Prisco, what do you think?
Oh, I think they're an under. I think the Chargers are coming. I think the Broncos are better. And I think the Chiefs are the class of the division. Under.
I don't want to agree with you, Pete. But I have to because I was saying under before you gave your pick. And you probably saw me giving thumbs down, and you probably just wanted to say what I was going to say. You know what I mean? But it's okay. I go under as well. When you look at that division, it's going to be very, very competitive. It's going to be entertaining. They haven't done enough to really get better from what we saw last year, so I'm right there with you, Pete, unfortunately, under.
We like to end on a good note here, and they agree under the 8 wins there for the Raiders. All right, guys, thanks so much. Taking a look at the Raiders' odds for the 2021 season. They're not great. 50-1 to win the Super Bowl, 25-1 to win the AFC. They're well behind the Chiefs and the Chargers. Third favorite odds to win the AFC West at plus 1,200. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.